I want to continue today the letter of the Vilna Gaon, the Igeris Agra. It's absolutely incredible piece. It'll take us today and maybe next week as well, just to go through the sources that he actually quotes. But he says to his wife, I want you to educate our children when I'm gone. Our daughters, tells exactly what to do for the daughters first, by the way. They come first in the letter. And then our sons, hire the best rebbes, incentivize them, pay them to learn. Make sure that they're motivated to learn and to do mitzvahs, because that's everything in life. And then he says to her the following words. Utvazar aleim prutos kayot, to spend lots of money on their learning. V'al zeh titein tamid dascha. You should always focus your attention on the following facts, on this issue, on this matter. V'ashar kol hevel. Nothing else matters in life besides that. Ki me'uma lo yisa adam ba'maloi. All the toil that you did in this world, none of it will come with you into the next. Rak shtei chalifos begodim levanim. Only 2 sets of white clothes that go with you into the grave. V'al toimar. Don't say, aniach levanai choik. Don't say, I want to leave some money behind for my children after I die. Spend it all on their education. And then he quotes a Gemara which we're going to do together. The Gemara says that when you're in Gehenna, who's going to tell you what they did with the money you left? And people are like B'nai Adam doimim le'isvei asadeh. People are like the grass of the field. Halalu noitetim v'halalu noivlim. These ones sprout and these ones wither away. We'll understand there the Gemara together. His pshat is, what does the Gemara mean? These unbelievably profound words. I honestly feel it's life-changing. Kol echad noilad b'mazaloi. Every person is born with his own destiny. Ubashkochas el elyon baruch hu, and with his own relationship to God, an intimate hashkocha that Hashem has with each individual. V'haim smeichim b'moisoi v'hu yoyreid she'ol. If you leave money for the children, they'll just be happy when you die, and you will go to Gehenna. Because why? Because you spent your whole life working to put money aside for your children so that they'll have when you die. So he says, you know what that's going to make them do? They're going to want you to die so they can get hold of the cash. And you wasted your life. So you're going to go to Gehenna because you never spent your life in Torah and mitzvahs. You spent your life building up money to leave for your children. And all it's going to do is going to make them happier to see the back of you. Reish Lakish iniach lebanav kavod Amerika. Reish Lakish left for his children. We're going to see this Gemara as well. A kav, a small measure of saffron. Kari anafshe, he said about himself, he bemoaned the fact that he had what left over in his life, that he had to leave it over to his children. He's quoted the Pasuk in Tehillim, which we said at a Shiva house. Va'azvu la'achayrim chaylam. It says, sages die and the idiots get destroyed and they leave their money for others. So he called about himself Reish Lakish because there was a little bit of money left over in his life that he had to leave to his children. I'm one of the idiots I wasted a bit of time in this earth because there was left over that had to go to my children. Oy vavoy, says the Gra. Al shekulam choshvim laniach lebonim. Everybody's worried about leaving money over for their children. The only benefit a person has from their children is the Torah life and the mitzvahs that they invest in their lifetime. Aval mezonoisam, but their finances, kutsuvim lahem, that's fixed for them. They've got their life. And you're not big enough to override God's destiny for them. So he says, whatever cent you have, spend it on educating our children that they will follow Hashem's ways. Buy them the best teachers, incentivize them, give, and never for once think, but if what will be for them when I die, he says, don't worry. And he brings a whole list of Gemaras to explain that the Torah's philosophy is that it's not a parent's responsibility to financially look after their children after they're dead, and certainly not to waste their own life amassing some type of savings to leave for their children after they're dead, because that's an absolutely futile life. You've missed the purpose of children, and you've missed the purpose of parenting. A parent's obligation to their child is to educate their children. That's what the Torah's obligation is. Teach them Torah and teach them how to fend for themselves in this world financially, but you do not have to provide for them. And if you want them to be sad when you die, and that you're going to a happy place, then leave them with nothing and invest your life in your own Torah, in your own mitzvahs, and your education of your children. That's the gist of his message. Now, I want to explore the Gemaras to give me. The Gemara about Reish Lakish is an unbelievable one. I just want to tell you, just for entertainment, because I think you need a little bit of that. Was a bit heavy, but it says that Reish Lakish, before he did tshuva, Reish Lakish was like the best crook you could get. He was an unbelievable crook. He ended up being Rabbi Yochanan's chavrusa. But in his crook days, he sold himself to man-eaters. What do you call it? Cannibals. This was a good deal. He got good money for himself, and he sold himself to a group of cannibals because he knew that the cannibals had one moment of rachmonas before they killed the guy and began to feast on him. They gave him a final wish. So he sold himself to the cannibals, and he took out, when I was at camp, when I was a young boy, we had a pillow fight with the older shichva. And I remember some oaks came with pillows, and other guys put canned fruit into their pillow sacks. You can't forget that pillow fight. Anyway, that's what he did. He took a sack and he filled it with rocks. And he sold himself to these cannibals because he knew they were going to give him one dying wish. And they said to him, "What's your dying wish?" And he says, "I want to hit each of you 1.5 times over the head with my sack." And he clobbered all of them to death and escaped with the cash. That's how the Gemara preempts this story. He lived on the edge, literally lived on the edge. And then the Gemara says at the end of his life, he died, and he left for his children this kav of saffron, and he bemoaned his failure. And he said, "I'm one of the idiots," the Maharshal says, "I'm one of the fools that left their money to others." Means there was time on this earth which I could have invested in my own Torah and mitzvahs, and I squandered it because there was left over. I saw, this is all very new for me. I had some feelings inside of me which I didn't know if they were even right or wrong. So this was like liberating in a way, but I never knew any of these Gemaras. But Warren Buffett, writes those letters to shareholders every year. I think it was this year. I think it was this one this year. I read like snippets of it, and it was deeply troubling for me. In the letter, he writes about what he's going to do with his money, basically, and how he's going to bequeath it to his children and what's going to happen. And in the letter, he says as follows. He says, I've lived much longer than I thought. And my children are deep into their 70s. I never wanted to leave them money anyway because I thought it wasn't good for them. But now that they really don't even need it, So he's got all this money and he's going to give it to some organization. I don't know what he's going to do with it. And I thought, that's the biggest failure in life. That was my gut feeling. The most talented investor on earth. You could spot talent in a human being and see that they could build something like nobody else. And you never invested one bit of that talent into building and changing and transforming God's world. All you were left with was a pile of cash, and you have no idea what's going to be with it after you're dead. You're going to leave it to some guy who's already certainly less talented than him, much less talented, and probably he'll steal half and squander the rest, and before you know it, all of his lifetime stock of billions of dollars will amount to zip. It's a failure. Reish Lakish said, the money that's left in the bank account when you die, that's your failure money. That was the money that you didn't manage to get out into the world to actually do something productive with it and change God's world with. Now he was left with a tiny little bit of spices. But the money that's left in the bank account is the money which Reish Lakish says that's the idiot's money, the fool that couldn't actually get their money out and utilize their abilities, their capabilities, their insight, all the things, their values to deploy it whilst they were alive to transform Hashem's world and to do something special with it. To leave it for your children, says the Vilna Gaon. What is that? Every child's got their own hashgacha, and if Hashem destined your child, God forbid, for poverty, the money you leave behind is not going to help them. You can't override God's will for them. And if He wants them to be wealthy, He doesn't need your money to make them wealthy. He'll be able to get it to them themselves. There's nothing that you can do to influence your own child's hashgacha in this world, your own child's mazel. There's nothing you can do. As much as you would love to as a parent, and you'd feel it's your parental responsibility, it was a waste of your own life. The resources that Hashem blessed you with in your life are your resources. And He wants you to use them and deploy them with your talents, with your values, with your capabilities to transform His world. What's left over at the end, that's the Shemzach part. That was the part Reish Lakish was ashamed of. Hold tight. The Medrash in Koheles says that Rabbi Meir was an extremely talented sofer, and he made 3 silver coins, I think it's 3 silver coins or 3 dinners, I can't remember, a week. The first, he spent on food. The second, he spent on clothes. And the third, he used to fund Talmidei Chachamim that they could learn Torah. And his student said to him, Rabbi Meir, what about something to leave over and save up for your kids? And Rabbi Meir answered them the following. He said, if my children are tzaddikim, the pasuk we say in benching, at the end of benching all the time, what does it say? V'lo ra'isi tzaddik ne'ezav. I've never seen a tzaddik that Hashem deserted in this world. Hashem will take care of them. And if my children are Rishoyim, I'm not going to give them my money so that they can buy a treif. I'm not going to help them with their rishes. What's the benefit of the money I leave behind? If they deserve it, Hashem will look after them. And if they don't, I certainly don't want to be the catalyst for their aveiros. And so Rabbi Meir spent every cent that he earned every week. Now that itself is, all of this requires, I just want to just preface this. I know you can see from the silence that there's a little bit of shell shocking and it's a thing, but there's a lot of emunah that's steeped in this. This is deep belief in the hashgacha of Hashem, that He runs His world and He's in control and you're not. Deep. Rabbi Meir lived from week to week. He spent whatever he earned. Let's call it on Friday. By Monday, there was naught. He never had to put aside anything. The next week, he knew. He'd come again. Food, clothes, Talmidei Chachamim. Back to naught again. The bank account was always at naught. That's the way he lived. What about for his children? Not worried about my children. God will take care of my children. He's in control of this world, and I can't influence that, and I don't want to influence that. I don't want to put resources into their hands if God didn't want to put resources into their hands. It's a deep, deep emunah. So I'm not saying, I'm not saying you have to live like Rabbi Meir, and I'm not saying that you have to live like Reish Lakish either, that you leave nothing behind, because emotionally, I think none of us are holding in that level of emunah. Like, you can see how it rattles you when you even hear it. Then you know you've got no bitachon. Sorry, just to break it to you, if you haven't learned before, but I'm saying, if you have bitachon, this is obviously Hashem looks after you. Look after your children. Why are you worried? Why are you more worried he's not going to look after your children than you think he's going to look after you? Yeah, it's the same story. Everybody's got the same story, same relationship, same God. He goes on forever. He'll care about your children like he cared about you. Leave it in his hands. It's very hard for us, that. And so I think practically you don't have to go to this extreme. You have to go to a place which keeps you comfortable. But you certainly do not have to feel guilty that you haven't got enough to leave your children with. And you certainly don't have to work excessively in order to save up so that your children will have when you pass out. All of those, says the Torah, those are totally foolish ambitions. They're foolish motivations. They're unfounded. Don't waste your life here trying to do that. It may end up that you'll have some left at the end, and you'll ashamedly hand it over to the kids like Reish Lakish did. There's rules for that, what you do and how you bequeath it. We'll get into that. But that's not the pride and joy of your life, that you left money for your children. No, why didn't you use the resources that Hashem blessed you with to actually change His world while you were alive and all your faculties were intact? That's what Hashem wants you to do. I think it's a transformation of our view on life and our responsibilities to children, and it is quite unsettling, I understand, but it is consistent throughout the Torah that this was the mahalach. And the Gaon, when he writes to his wife, these are the Gemaras he's quoting, and he's telling her, put that thought. The Gemara doesn't deny that the havamina of every single person is, I've got to leave money for my children, because it always asks it. On Rabbi Meir, it says, well, what about for your children? We're going to see now. The Gemara is going to ask as well, what about leaving money for your children? When we're going to come to the next. And the Gaon says, I know you're thinking, what about leaving money for the children? He says, that's everybody's making money for their children. Don't worry, God will look after your children. That's what Jewish people believe. You use your resources to make a difference in God's world whilst you're alive. Rav, this is another Gemara that the Gaon quotes. I'm going to go inside and do it more thoroughly with you. Amalei Rav, the Rav Hamnuna. Rav said to Rav Hamnuna, Beni, my son, im yesh lecha, if you are blessed with financial resources, heitev lach, use it for your own good. Ki ein b'shol tanuk, in the next world, there's no physical enjoyment in that world. V'ein lamavis hismameya, and death waits for nobody. Rav's advice to Rav Hamnuna is, if you're blessed with wealth, spend it on yourself. Spend it on the things that are going to be, the Mefarshim say, spend it on Torah and mitzvahs. Invest it well, that it's going to actually have benefit for you in the next world. Don't keep it. Because he says, death is on, who knows where death is? It comes quick. There's no forewarning for these things. So you're saving up, it may not need to be saved. Use it. And there's no point in keeping it because you can't spend it in the next world. There's nothing to do with it there. So he says, my advice to you is if you've got wealth, use it on yourself. Again, you see the Havamina coming through in the Gemara. Maybe you'll say, I'll leave it over for my children. Bishoil mi yagid lach. When you're in Gehenna, who's going to tell you what they did with the money? And explain to you what the Meforshim say over there. 2 points he says to him. On your thought, and you have a minute to leave it for your children. Number one, when you're dead, when they say when you're in Sheol, which is not the best place in the, they don't say when you're in Gan Eden, what they're going to say. See, if that was your life philosophy, the chances are you went, not, you just wasted your life. But he says, when you're there, who's going to tell you what they did with the money? And the Meforshim say, when you're alive, and you're able to guide and direct the people that you give the money to, whether it be your children or institutions or whatever it is, you can make sure that the money fulfills the purposes that you wanted it to. But when you're dead and you leave it into other people's hands, they're going to blow it. Who's going to tell you what they're doing with the money so that you can direct them and steer them and tell them, no, don't do that, do that? No one's going to tell you anything. And you're leaving it into people's hands who never made the money, never had the capability to make it, probably won't have the capability to keep it either. So what's the point of leaving it into the hands of people who can't manage it the way you could manage it? So manage it. That's your responsibility. If you've got it, deploy it with your abilities while you're alive. Next point says Rav, if you may think you should leave it for your children, the Gaon says this part explicitly. Bnei Adam doimim le'isve asade. Humans are like blades of grass. Halalu noitzitzim v'halalu noivlim. These ones blossom and these ones fade away. The Gaon, when he explains it in his letter, he says, like every single blade of grass has its own hashgacha, has its own personal intervention from Hashem for its growth, so too does every single human being. There's no interconnectivity between the blades of grass. There's no interconnectivity between human beings as well. A parent's life has no influence over their children's finances. Naught. These ones can flourish, these ones can wither away, and there's nothing that you can do to influence it. Very different. This I have to check up with the botanist, but one of them, Meforshim, say that the reason why Rav used the mashal of grass is because grass is very different to other things that grow. A tree, if the tree produces payros, produces fruits, so the tree has a tremendous influence on the quality of that fruit. If the tree withers, fruits don't survive. But grass doesn't work like that. Each blade of grass becomes its own independent thing, and it has no relationship. It continues its life without any relationship to the parent that it came from. And Rav was telling Rav Hamnuna that that's how Parnassa works for children. You have no influence on it as a parent, and you cannot change the personal destiny and hashgacha of a child in this world. So there's an emotional, caring feeling that makes us want to look after our children after we've passed away, which the Gemara in every place acknowledges that that's the knee-jerk havamina of a caring human being. And the chiddush of the Torah is that's not your responsibility, and that's wasted money. That's a lack of belief that your child's destiny is in God's hands. He'll look after him the way he looked after you. Your responsibility is to take the God-given resources that Hashem blessed you with and deploy them for yourself, says Rav. Make your resources work for you so that when you die, there will be what to look forward to, that you're going to have an eternal life which is going to be rich with all the incredible investments that you utilized your resources for. Children, they're going to blow it. And secondly, God will look after them. And if he doesn't, and if for whatever reason he chooses poverty, your money won't help. When I was learning it, I was thinking this, like imagine, what would be better? Hashem destines, God forbid, one of your children to poverty, and you bequeath to them 200 million rand. So what's going to happen? They're going to be poor. So they're going to have to lose the 200. Imagine a child who knew that they had 200 million rand in their bank account and now they are totally down and out. The pain they'll live with all those mistakes that they made and the money that they lost. Just let them, their father left them nothing and they're poor. That's normal poor. It's like you can carry that burden. The father didn't help. The father made it worse. And imagine a child who was destined for wealth. I'm just giving you the options. And they got 200 million rand as an inheritance from their father. That's a nice life? That your whole life you feel like you're in your daddy's pocket and you can never get out of it forever and ever and ever. You never got independence. Even after he died, you couldn't get your independence from him. Whereas he would have left you nothing. You still would have got your 200, but you would have made it. You would have got yourself onto your own 2 feet. You would have had business successes and things that happened to you in your life that you would feel proud of and that you achieved. Either which way, the money that you leave behind, it's only going to hurt. So the Gon says, what you've got, spend it on your children's education to his wife, because that's the ultimate thing that a woman gets rewarded for. That's why he says it to her, for educating her children. She has no chalik in Torah herself. Spend your money on your children's education. Rabbi Meir spent every cent on Talmidei Chachamim learning Torah. Hashem blesses you with the resources you need in your life. He will bless your children with the resources they need in their life. Our cop-out of our responsibility is to think, I'll leave it for my children. That's so Hashem says, don't worry, I could take care of that. I gave it to you. I want you to use it. I want you to deploy it. I value your values. I like the things you're interested in. I want you to change my world. I want you to make a difference. Invest in Torah, in mitzvahs, your own personal ones. Don't work so many hours if you've got savings. Learn more. That's what I want. That's why I gave you the resources, so that your time was freer, so that you could have time for me in this world. That's what I gave them to you for. Not so that you continue walking and building up the pile and building up the stack to leave it for somebody that I could have taken care of after. I wanted time with you here. I think it's a transformative way of seeing the world. It is not the way that we were brought up, and it's not the way the knee-jerk human response to how you would want to, what you'd want to do with your money is either. But when you think about it deeply, it's profoundly wise. It puts a huge amount of responsibility on our own shoulders to actually make something of our own life and to back ourselves and invest in ourselves and believe in ourselves and our ability to make a difference in Hashem's world. Next week, please God, we'll discuss what to do if you lose in life and you actually have money left over. What do you do actually in your will with leaving it over for your children? And we'll discuss that. But actually our primary responsibility is to deploy it wisely here. That's really what Hashem wants from every single person. Okay.